Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Welcome to a brand new episode of CNBC TV 18 and Qualcomm present the 5G opportunity. Now, global technology standards play a critical role in the world of technology. For the wireless communications industry, they are the foundation of a transparent, competitive ecosystem, open for everyone, and provide a continuous technology evolution roadmap. Standardization is the key step in bringing new interoperable technologies to the mass commercial market, creating significant value across the entire technology ecosystem. Technology standards ensure system interoperability while enabling product differentiation. They also create new markets and expand the addressable markets of existing products and technology. Other benefits include allowing for better cost efficiency through economies of scale and multi-vendor sourcing and reducing market risk, especially in areas that require large investments. We're now joined by the Vice Chair, TSDSI, and Senior Director, Technology Standards at Samsung Research India, Mr. Suresh Chituri, to understand the power of 5G, the new possibilities it will unleash when it comes to connectivity and user experience, and why global 5G standards are important for India.
Thanks for having me, Rima. Dear friends, good morning, good afternoon, and evening, wherever you may be located. First off, it is a great privilege for me to be here with you at this important moment in the history of telecommunications. We are at the cusp of moving to a new generation of wireless technology. With 5G auctions behind us, we will very soon witness the power of 5G. And I can't wait to experience this, and I hope you will too. 5G is designed to offer connectivity beyond just your personal smartphone, connecting machines to machines and bringing brand new user experiences. In fact, a significant emphasis was put on 5G to enable industrial use cases, from autonomous driving to industrial automation, public safety, drones communication, healthcare, education, and many more. In fact, many experts in the industry believe 5G will power the Industry 4.0 revolution. Digital communications, or for that matter, connectivity, plays a very important role and an essential fabric in our society, not only in bringing people or communities together, but enabling digital transformation and bridging the digital divide. And we've seen this with 4G in the last decade in India. It has played a very important role in digitizing many of the services in India, like UPI, KYC, and Aadhaar. And not to mention, during pandemic, it has not only provided the connectivity, but enabled us to carry on at work and home. 5G is a global standard built on three main pillars: enhanced mobile broadband, bringing gigabits of speeds, ultra reliable and low latency, with latency as low as 10 milliseconds, and massive IoT, connecting millions of devices per square kilometer. Now, it also brings several new and major architectural concepts, from network slicing to private networks, service-based architecture, and edge computing. All these are designed to bring services closer to the user. In addition, this technology is designed to work over multiple frequency bands. Low bands such as sub-gigahertz, mid bands such as C-band, and high bands are also called the millimeter wave bands, seamlessly, unlike the previous generations. Now let's talk about global standards. Global standardization means interoperability at large scale and bringing economies of scale, thereby lowering the cost to the consumers. Based on the latest GSA report, over 500 operators have already invested in 5G, with 200 commercial launches and over 1,500 devices that support 5G today. Let me give you an example. When you take your smartphone and make a simple voice call or a text message or post a picture on Instagram, this content goes through your 5G radio on your device to the wireless network and travels through multiple network functions and intermediate servers before it reaches the receiving end. Now, all this is done in a secure and seamless manner. This is the true power of 5G or global standardization. So why is global standards important for India? In my view, there are three key benefits. Number one, the use of globally harmonized standards will advance the rollout of 5G. And number two, it enables local manufacturers to compete with world markets. And number three, it enables our researchers to work closely with our global partners and allies on the issues of emerging technology. This leads to what I call is Make in India for the world. The process of global standardization of wireless technology is very complicated. It involves forums such as ITU, 3GPP, and GCF. Typically, it takes about 10 years to research, develop, and deploy new generation of wireless technologies. Now, 5G has begun in 2012, and it was delivered in 2020. Enormous efforts go into the development of standardization. Let me share you some statistics. Over 1,000 new specifications were developed as part of the 5G standard, with over 800 meetings, week-long meetings over the last 5 to 6 years, and over 600,000 technical contributions made by the researchers, industry, and academia. Now, coming to TSDSI, which stands for Telecom Standards Development Society of India, often referred to as India's Telecom STO, was established in 2014 with three key objectives. One, to develop, promote, and standardize India-specific requirements and solutions. Number two, to take Indian requirements to global standardization process. And number three, to provide guidance and leadership to the development countries or developing countries. Now, aspirations are high from TSDSA members to make a larger impact to the global telecom ecosystem. Good news is that TSDSI is an organizational partner of 3GPP and one of the 7 organizational partners around the world. So this will enable us to contribute and participate in 3GPP effectively. We've had some initial success with 5G with the introduction of LMLC, which stands for Low Mobility Large Cell. But I believe there's a lot more we can achieve together. Key is to be engaged from the beginning, have a consistent participation and collaboration with multiple stakeholders. And I'm happy to note that we are already starting to do this with the pre-6G standardization activities. Finally, I would like to conclude that my role at TSDSI, along with the chair TSDSI, is to expand the standardization capability and encourage participation in the global standards. And everybody listening to this talk, I would really encourage you to take part in this process and join us in this journey. Namaste and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mr. Chituri, for those very insightful words. Telecommunication Standard Development Society India plays a significant role in contributing to global standardization in the field of telecom. And standardization is the key step in bringing in new interoperable technologies to the mass commercial market, creating significant value across the entire technology ecosystem. With that, it's time for a very short break, but don't go anywhere, as on the other side, we have a very interesting panel discussion lined up. You're watching CNBC TV 18 and Qualcomm present the 5G opportunity. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the very special episode of CNBC TV 18 and Qualcomm present the 5G opportunity. As the underlying technology that comprises of 5G has developed, a variety of industry groups working hand in hand with national and international regulatory agencies have collaborated to ensure global scalability of the next generation of cellular technology. While standards create significant value for the entire wireless ecosystems, why should organizations strive to be the leader in standards? To discuss this and much more, we are now joined by an esteemed panel of guests. We have Lorenzo Casaccia, VP Technical Standards and IP at Qualcomm, retired Lieutenant General SP Kochar, Director General COAI, and Kiran Kumar Kuchi, Professor Electrical Engineering, IIT Hyderabad. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on this discussion today. My first question to you is, Mr. Professor Kuchi, What is the importance of technology standards when it comes to the telecom industry?
Okay, thank you, Rima. Global standardization will enable, equipment to roam across the border, and it gives you a market access which is global. This is a very big thing. So India is a large country, large market, but perhaps not large enough to give you the economies of scale, the global scales. So Indian manufacturers stand to gain immensely when you build equipment adhering to globally harmonized standards. You can not only allow this roaming and utilize this equipment across the borders, but also be able to sell effectively and compete with the rest of the world. I think this is a very big deal.
A quick follow-up, Professor Kuchi. What are the various advantages of having a unified set of standards that define 5G?
We arrived at a merger formula that merged India's regional standard, or rather India's standard, which need not be regional one, it could be global as well, with the 3GPP so-called global standard that led to a single unified 5G global standard. This process has formally been completed at 3GPP, at International Telecommunication Union, and within Government of India and TSDSI. So we have one single unified standard. We understand the benefits, and also talk about in a moment what are these significant benefits that gives you the economies of scale, but not only for global entities, but also Indian equipment manufacturers, and having the ability to roam across the countries very freely.
Lieutenant General, Mr. Kochhar, I'd like to know your thoughts on whether adopting globally recognized 5G standards into the Indian national standards will advance the pace of 5G network rollout. What is your view?
Yes, the simple short answer is yes. Anything which is introduced into a territory, if it meets the global standards, the cost effectiveness and the time effectiveness certainly enhances. In addition to that, we get cost benefits and we get interoperability with the rest of the world. So it will be a big advantage if we adopt international standards and our rollouts are as per the international standards.
Lorenzo, we do know that Qualcomm has played an integral part in 5G deployment in various countries. How can we develop 5G security standards at a global scale?
Well, there are two things that are most important for deployment at scale, of course, using global standard and using harmonized spectrum, especially spectrum that has commonality with other pieces of spectrum in other major geographies. And once you have those two things, the next important thing that kicks in is the availability of suppliers or companies that provide the technologies that can execute on those parameters, on the standard and on the spectrum at scale, with efficiency, and with acceptable cost, of course. And this is really Qualcomm's specialty. For example, being able to support a lot of bands is an example of this. So really, at the end, the answer is simple. Global standard and globally harmonized spectrum are really the key for deployment at scale.
Professor Kuchi, my next question for you is, could you help us understand how standardization forms the backbone of mobile network security?
We have to see what 3GPP offers, or global 5G standards offers in terms of network security. We understand that the security is predominantly offered by the use of SIM card. SIM card is the device that protects and secures your communication between either a phone or an IoT device to the network. And 3GPP defines a set of protocols and specifications that ensures that the end-to-end connection is secure. Okay, that is the advantage of standardization. On top of 3GPP specifications, there are also so-called application level security protocols. This is just one more layer of security that we can impose upon. That is, within the control of, the specific application that we are running. So combined with 3GPP and 5G security protocols and application level protocols, it can be assured that the security needs of 5G are met.
Understood. So Lorenzo, what about the security? The level of security baked into 5G from a standards level, and that represents numerous enhancements over its predecessor LTE. What do these enhancements include?
So this is an interesting question. Of course, security is always a moving target. Every generation of cellular technology has always introduced more security features than the previous one, and 5G is no exception. There's been advancements in different areas, and let me mention a few that's very easy to understand. So one is there's been improvements in the area of authentication. So with 5G, terminals, mobile phones, can authenticate base stations and vice versa. So usually it was the network that would authenticate the users. With 5G, also the other way around is possible. The users can authenticate the network, which of course improves security. Another interesting thing that is related is that there is better support for privacy. So in cellular systems, users are identified by a certain ID, by a certain identifier, which in 5G is subject to a form of scrambling. This makes it more difficult for people, for third parties to track or to know who is who. So privacy is supported better. And then a third one is that there is support of integrity protection for all of the data traffic. So these are all things that were not there in 4G, and there are numerous others, but these are just some examples.
Lieutenant General Kochhar, we know that 3GPP standards have played a pivotal role in the success of LTE, making it the fastest growing cellular technology in history. How is 3GPP setting the security standards for a 5G future now?
Putting it very briefly, the cyber security of 5G will have to be ingrown. It will have to be organic, and it has to start from the drawing board stage as we manufacture 5G equipment. And because of that reason, there have to be standards which are compatible with 5G and as adaptable and as flexible as 5G offerings. So it is but natural that the security standards are also set by the same organization that set the standards for 5G, which is 3GPP. And this is a well-established fact that the security standards will also be set by them. If they do not do that, and these standards are set by somebody else, then this will become an overlay. And while there may be interoperability, but there will be a problem of organic growth of security in accordance with the 5G parameters of flexibility, adaptability, and so on.
Professor Kuchi, how will the adoption and use of global 5G standards enable Indian manufacturers to compete around the world?
So our government has very clearly stated that they are giving all the support necessary to enable Indian entities to develop mobile network equipment as well as IoT devices that conforms to the so-called 5G standards. And the aim is twofold. One is this equipment developed by Indian entities not only serves the needs of India, but also the same equipment can be exported, should be exported, shall be exported to other countries. So the government aims Indian entities to be an exporter of mobile network technology and equipment. Now, gone are the days when India was a consumer of mobile network technology, mostly imports. But India aspires to export this technology, manufacture this technology indigenously. I think we've made a lot of progress in the last year or more. In my opinion, within the next 12 months, I think Indian entities will deploy 5G network infrastructure in the upcoming 5G deployments. This is beginning, there are early signs that this is beginning to happen. Beyond that, I think the same entities who showcase their abilities under Indian network conditions will probably end up exporting this technology.
Interesting. Mr. Kochhar, coming to you, how will the adoption of a globally harmonized 5G standard allow the Indian government to work more closely with global partners and allies on issues related to emerging technologies?
the very fact, the answer lies in your question itself. If it is a globally harmonized standard, therefore, the world over, these standards are accepted by all those countries who have adopted these standards, and all of them have adopted. And therefore, all the brains and all the labs of all these countries are available for brainstorming, for doing experimentation, for making changes, finding out where the issues are, how to improve them. And that is a big boost that will happen.
And before we bring this discussion to a close, I'd like to ask you, Lorenzo, how has Qualcomm contributed to standards which are driving the future of industries?
Within Qualcomm, we see ourselves as creators of standards, really. And we see ourselves as a company that has played a key role, maybe the key role, to help new members of the ecosystem, new industries, to join the telecom sector to try to understand 5G, understand how 5G can fit the need of a new industry, and then, very importantly, design the technologies that can fill in the gaps, such that with some small additions, then 5G can fit into a new domain. This process of molding and creation of standards is really, really something that we are very passionate about as a company, as a group, as a team.
Once again, highlighting the critical role that global standards play in the world of technology. Well, folks, that's all the time we have for you on the show today. A big thank you to all our guests for joining us in this special discussion. With that, it's a wrap on this episode of CNBC TV 18 and Qualcomm present the 5G opportunity. Thank you for watching.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.